How much did all of this cost? So I'm doing a cost video today. How much did it cost to build our van, and would I do it again? Of course I would do it again because it is cheaper. The van itself we bought from the factory, and we paid, in 2021 we paid $55,000 for it with all the custom features, and that's delivered with tax. I'm sure there's a lot of things on here that are not accounted for, so like a bunch of screws that I just forgot to add in to the cost, or I lost a receipt or something like that. But here's the spreadsheet that I have set up, and I'm just going to walk through it as we or talk through it as we go down through it. So the first category is soundproofing and insulation. I bought one box of 50 square foot of kill mat, and that was enough to do the sides of my van and the doors. I did not do the roof, and I did not do the floor. I also bought two 30 foot by 60 inch or 30 foot by 5 foot rolls of Thinsulate. That was enough to do my van with some leftover. That was roof and sides and doors. And then for the floor insulation, I used 3 panels of polyiso from Home Depot. That sits underneath 3/4 inch plywood. Total cost for soundproofing and insulation was $735, or about 1.8% of the cost of the van. I would definitely do the Thinsulate again, because I found that was probably the most significant thing in terms of kill mat versus Thinsulate. Kill mat does reduce some of the oil canning, especially around the wheel wells. Just tapping on them, they sound like drums without it, but with it, it definitely deadens it. But the biggest bang for your buck is the Thinsulate itself. Probably any insulation is going to reduce. For the floor insulation, it does help with the coldness of the floor, but it's not as dramatic as you would think. It still feels cold when you're walking on it. But and there are options like doing hydronic floor heating, but that is incredibly expensive. If it's that cold, I would just put a rug on it. The second category is just general building materials. So these are things that I didn't have one specific area that I bought it for. For example, plywood. Plywood's used throughout. I included the plus nut tool. I'm not normally including tools because a lot of them I already had, but the plus nut tool, that's something that's specific to the van, so I thought that was a good thing to put. Also my large gauge crimpers, those were, I included those because those were specific to the van. So paint, floors, cedar plank for the ceiling, butyl tapes, Turnabond, lap sealant, things like that. General building materials was $1,464, or about 3.5% of the cost of the van. So our biggest component, our biggest cost was the electrical. We spent $14,755 on electrical, and that is about almost 36% of the cost of the van, the total cost. And mostly because I'm all electric. So when you go all electric, you got to get that power from somewhere, and that's batteries. We have 600 amp hours of lithium battery. I bought from Dometic Cooling. I went there actually for the air conditioner that's on the roof, and they also have an electrical package, so I decided to bundle it all together. Well, they actually farm it out to Freedom Van Go, and they have a kit that you can buy that includes pretty much everything that you'll need to build the electrical system in one space. I mean, it's not going to have like a bunch of extra wire for running throughout your whole van, but it'll be enough to do your entire system, and then you buy the wire to go to your various components. They do include wire enough for the system. It was a Victron system. Everything in it is Victron. The Victron batteries are 200 amp hour each, and the advantage of those, they're expensive. They're more expensive than a Battleborn, but the advantage of them is that they're small. They don't have the electronics in them, so like the Battleborn has its own, I forget what they call them. I think it's like a charge controller that's built into the battery. The Victrons do not have that, I don't think, and you have to control when it charges and when it doesn't charges externally. So that's a disadvantage, but one 200 amp hour Victron lithium battery is smaller than one 100 amp hour Battleborn battery, so they fit in a smaller space. So for example, Battleborn has a what they call a game changer battery, and I think it's about a 300 amp hour. Same with Lithionics, they have their big one is a 300 amp hour, and my 600 amp hours will fit in the same space as that game changer or the Lithionics battery. So included in the cost of the electrical package, which was $12,500, was the Victron inverter, the MPPT charger, the Cerbo GX, 2 Orion DC to DC chargers, a Linx distributor, the Victron battery protects. So what those do is they control when the battery can charge and when the battery can discharge. So there's 2 separate battery protects in there. One is for the input source and one is for the output source. And then there's a little controller module that tells each one of those when to turn off. It also included a Blue Sea fuse block, all the terminals, all the ferrules, a lot of wires. So it's a lot of stuff in there. I actually priced it out and it was pretty compatible with just buying the components yourself. So it did include a lot of the stuff that you would normally pay for. I upgraded the solar charge controller to a 150 Victron. They had a 130 that came in the kit, and I decided to switch it out to 150. I do still have the 130, and I may use that to run external solar panels that just sit on the ground. I haven't decided yet. I did buy 2 350 watt solar panels that contain half-cut cells. So half-cut cells basically allow partial coverage of the solar panel, will still allow it to deliver power. So like if the way mine are set up, one is on top of the other like this, these cells over here can still generate power, and they're connected in series with this panel up there. So even if it's partially covered or shaded, they'll still deliver power, whereas a typical cell will cut out. It also includes my RV. This is stuff that I bought after, not including the package. An RV electrical cable for outside, hooking up to shore power, and then a surge protector. USB sockets and light strips and puck lights. Just lights all over the place, diffusers, switches, terminal tools. I had an extra Blue Sea terminal block. I just included it in here as the cost. I had one from a truck build that I was going to do, but never did it. Solar breaker box and the circuit breaker box in the back was included in the kit. So for my AC input. Yeah, so that's a lot of stuff in there. The garage, the brackets for the slide out 500-pound drawer slides were $350, and then the coin mat from Home Depot, that was $300, making $650 or 1.5% of my cost. For plumbing, I have the Bosch 4-gallon hot water heater. I have a SureFlow accumulator and a C-Flow pump. I use primarily Uponor fittings, which is PEX A. So there's 2 types of PEX. There's a PEX A and there's a PEX B. PEX B is the shark bite type fittings. And the primary difference between the two, from a cost point of view, is with PEX A, the cost is going to be in the expander tool. So my DeWalt expander tool was $370 just for the tool. I bought DeWalt because all my batteries are DeWalt, so I didn't want a separate battery system. With shark bite fittings, the tool cost is less, but you're going to pay more for the fittings themselves. So like an elbow, it's much more expensive than the elbow than the PEX A. Drain fittings, RVP traps, freshwater tank. I have a 28-gallon over-the-wheel well tank from Northwest Conversion. It's an expensive tank. It was $440. There are cheaper ones out now that were not out then, so I would look around. The gray water tank is just one from Amazon, $110. I have a 2-stage filter system. It has a charcoal filter and it has a 5 micron filter. And then I have a pre-filter in front of that as well. I have an external shower box. I just put in a tank heater pad for the gray tank and wire for the pipe running to the valve. I have external water filters that hook up to the hose for when you're putting it into the van from a faucet. And then also our ball valve. So plumbing, the total was almost $2,100, or about 5% the cost of our van build. The bathroom, the primary expense here was the toilet, which was the airhead toilet. We bought that over the Nature's Head just because it's a little bit smaller. The toilet itself was $1,000, and it took a long time when we ordered it. It was like 3 or 4 months to get it. It is a good one. We've never used the number 2. We've only used the number 1 because we spend our time in RV parks or at friends and family house. So it wasn't essential to use it. If we ever do boondocking, it'll be more likely to be used. But if that's your use case, you might consider something a little cheaper, even just a homemade composting toilet with a urine diverter in it. The cost will be greatly reduced. I have the vinyl tile, and that's on top of Curdy board. So the total cost of that was $430. Shower pan was $230, and then all of the fittings, so like the toilet paper cover and the shower valves. Geyser systems, which is our sponge, a low flow water system, that was $110, and then just lights. So $1,800 and almost $1,900 for the bathroom. And that was about 4.5%. The kitchen, so we have a large sink, 24 by 19, an induction cooktop. Our refrigerator is a Rec Pro. It's a 4.3 cubic foot tall refrigerator, so it's tall and thin, but it has a nice large size freezer. The refrigerator is a DC refrigerator. We have a Breville Combiwave, which is a microwave, convection oven, and a air fryer all built into one. I found a trim piece that fit the Breville just perfectly. It wasn't intended to be there, but the dimensions were right, and it works good. We bought some nesting pans specifically for the van, so they compact into a space about that big, but it gives you all the pans that you would have normally in a kitchen, and then the handles disconnect so it stores really compact. Drawer slides, cabinet door hinges, slam latches, wall tile, and then the wall tile is like that stick-on stone. It's a real stone, but it has a stick-on backing. And then the faucet is a Home Depot faucet. Total cost for the kitchen, also epoxy. So the epoxy was a pretty good cost to make the countertops. So total cost for the kitchen was $2,700, and it was about 6.5% the cost of the van build. Windows, ventilation, and climate. So our windows are Arctic turn overland windows. We have 2 large ones on the sides of the van and 2 in the back, and that was about $2,200, $2,250 or $2,150 just for those 4 windows. There's adhesives. We made our own sunscreens with Sunbrella material, which was the biggest part of that cost. MaxxAir fan. I bought an adapter that was not used. The air conditioner is a Dometic RTX 2000. That's a 12 volt DC air conditioning unit. It's pretty good. It's especially with our use case. So it's right over top of the bed. So we mostly use it when we're sleeping. The rest of the times, as long as it's cool outside, the MaxxAir fan works perfect. We just crack the windows in the back door, and the air just flows over top of the bed out to the MaxxAir fan. The We.Bus gasoline heater, I would definitely do that again. Total cost for our windows and ventilation and climate was $7,060, or about 17% of the cost of the van. For the bed, we have a foam mattress and just a mattress topper, FOAM, not FOM. And then a Hypervent airflow moisture barrier. That's it just sits underneath the mattresses and allows air to flow underneath so you don't get mold growing down there. And then hatch lift struts for accessing the storage area under the bed. Total for the bed was $410, or about 1% the cost. 80/20. So when I first saw 80/20, I knew that was the way that I wanted to go. I like the fact that it's really rigid, and it's a little bit easier than trying to build plywood cabinets if you have no experience doing that. I have some experience, but not extensive. But it can be challenging to connect surfaces to it. So like making a box for out of plywood, you would connect it to itself, with 80/20, you have to fasten whatever your cover is to the 80/20, and you want to do that in a way that looks nice. So I have two types. I have 15 series, which is the 1.5 inch, and I have 10 series, which is the 1 inch 80/20. So the 10 series is mostly for my upper cabinets and the kitchenette. The shower, the bed, those are all 15 series. And then the accessories are things like brackets, screws, Rolling T-nuts, stuff like that. I built my roof rack out of 80/20, so it was about almost $400 for the 80/20 itself, $127 for brackets, and then $400 for attachments, so things like slides, you know, because I have the sliding roof solar panel extender. So $5,000 for 80/20 and about 12% of the cost of the van. The outside area, we have our Dragonfly tarp, which was $970, and that was a show price, so that's actually discounted. It's more expensive than that. Chairs were $60 each from Costco. The table is one that I made. It was about $30 for a stair tread. Two grills, the Pit Boss, which is a propane griddle. I have a collapsible charcoal grill and a chimney that I haven't used yet. Total cost for the outside area was $1,195, or almost 3% the cost of the van. And then here's some extras. So a Nebula capsule 2 and a TV screen that we use for entertainment. That was about $470 for both of those. There are cheaper options out there for a projector. Our wind deflector, that's at the front of the 80/20 roof rack, and the brackets that attach the roof rack to the roof of the vehicle. Those were from a company called Unica, and so that was about $575 for both of those. The WeBoost, about $560, and then I bought a swivel for the antenna so it can lay flat on the roof. The Halo View backup camera, that was about $370. The grip step, which is the runner panels on the side for getting in and out of the van, that was $540. And then the gutters, color match paint, and then I also did Sumo springs front and back. The Sumo springs, they were pretty easy to install. I didn't make a video of them. There's a lot of videos out there already on them. It didn't take long at all. It was most of the time was spent jacking the vehicle. Once you get the vehicle up in the air, the backs are just a matter of untwisting the old and putting in the new. The front coils, although some people have had a lot of trouble with them, for me they were even easier than the backs. So you just jack it up to the point to where the wheel's not touching anymore, and then take heavy soapy water, soap the coil itself, and then also the insert, and it pops right in there. There was no issue whatsoever. Took me less than 5 minutes per wheel. So total for all the extras was $3,181, or about 7.75% the cost of the van. So altogether, we spent $41,250 just on the build materials. The van itself was about $55,000, and so our total cost was a little over $96,000 for our van build. Now, of course, you can do things cheaper. There's a lot of options for doing things much cheaper than what I did. Propane is one option. I know a lot of people don't like propane nowadays, but it's been used in RV vehicles for decades. It's just a matter of doing it right, doing it safe. If you don't know what you're doing, get somebody else to do it. Electrical can be just as dangerous as propane. I guess with a leak with propane, as long as you have adequate sensors to warn you and you change them out regularly, you should be okay. Other options for reducing cost, obviously my power system is huge, and my components are not cheap. So buying a Victron battery, the 200 amp hour Victron battery is more expensive than two 100 hour Battleborn batteries. But they're very compact, so they take up much less room than a standard lithium battery. But there are cheaper battery options out there, and it gets better all the time. I would look to Will Prowse, his channel. He's always testing batteries and telling you what to buy and what to avoid. So, and he tests a lot of cheap batteries too, so it's a good it's a good option to see should you even consider a particular battery. Let's see what else. The Cerbo GX, that's something that'll save you a lot of money if you don't need that functionality. It's an expensive option. Another place that you could save would be the refrigerator. So I have a DC refrigerator that cost me $840, which is it's expensive. It's not as expensive as some of the other ones like the Dometics, but it's still costly. You could do a dorm fridge and just run your inverter. It's not as efficient, that's true, but you could always use the money you save and buy another battery. It will definitely not use a 100 amp hour battery, but you could probably afford an extra 100 amp hour battery if you just went with a standard dorm fridge. Obviously our Breville Combiwave is a luxury. You don't need that. That's another $500. Same with the pans. The pans are expensive. As far as refrigerators, chest versus front door, I think there's a lot of hype over chest fridges and how their efficiency. Technically they are more efficient, but because they say, you know, when you open the door, the cold air just falls out of the refrigerator. And while that's true, it's not as inefficient as you think it is, because the food that's inside your refrigerator, if it's packed in there, that stuff is all cold. It doesn't immediately drop to room temperature, all the stuff in your refrigerator, as soon as you open the door. There's a lot of mass in there that's keeping the area cool, the space cool. And you could verify that just by putting a thermostat inside your refrigerator, open the door, leave it open for a minute, and then close it, and you'll see it's not going to rise that much because most of the cold is in the food. So you're basically just cooling the air that's surrounding it, so that's not that much. So yeah, technically a chest freezer or chest refrigerator is going to be more efficient, but you'll never notice it. You'll never see the difference. And I prefer the convenience of just opening the door and grabbing what I want. My windows, they were pricey. I think they're worth it because it gives you a screen, it gives you a blind, and it gives you a swing out that you can have open even if it's raining out. The Webasto, I would definitely do that again. We are probably going to upgrade our mattress because the foam is just a little bit too hard, and it may require me to redo the shelf that's over the bed because it's a little too low for a thicker mattress, but we do like the comfort of a thicker mattress. The Dragonfly tarp, that is a luxury. You can get by with a smaller, like a moonshade type tarp. You could also do it for that price. You could do an awning, but we were impressed with its ability to be up even in heavy winds. Whereas an awning, you have to draw it back in. A lot of this other stuff I would still do even with the price. Yeah, so that's our van build cost. If you have any questions or you want something expanded on, you can leave a comment below, and I'll respond to it in the comments. But I think I'm also going to do a comment response video because I've had a lot of comments and questions about certain things in the van, and it might be nice to have it all in one video as of this date. So if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below. If you want more information about a particular part of the build, you can ask that, and maybe I can throw together a video explaining some things. If you want something like electrical tutorial, just a basic electrical tutorial, I can do that. There are a lot of videos out there already on that, and probably people that are much more knowledgeable than I am. But I do have electrical experience. I was an electrician in the Navy and an electrical technician. So I am familiar with it. So a lot of people are not. So yeah, that's all I have for now. Talk to you later.